So now that our central control unit is registered, the next thing I just want to walk you through real quick before we start pairing and everything is a little bit of the navigation, especially the early navigation as you're gearing up to start pairing other devices. So I'm going to go ahead and undock it, make it easier, more comfortable to show you around. And what we're going to have here is that the two primary indicators are over here on the right. You see that there's a little gauge with the green underline under it, and then there's a gear right next to that. So the gauge is going to give me access to my zones, my system, some scheduling, my alerts, things that happen that you're going to use typically after the install is complete. The gear, on the other hand, is everything I'm going to use during the installation. So when I need to configure something, if I have to pair zones, change names, edit configurations, stuff like that is all going to be done through the gear icon. Often people don't catch on to that right away, so it can be a little bit of a hiccup. So just make sure you know the difference between those two and kind of remember what you're trying to do. So what we'll do first is it's meant to be fairly intuitive from here. So I've got a header up here. I've got my floor layout where it seems pretty obvious what I'm supposed to do there. I'm supposed to add my floor. The next one over is our system config. That's where I actually set up what this central control unit is going to be used for. I've got settings where I can do all sorts of stuff. We'll talk a little bit more about that once we're done pairing everything. And then I've got tuners. More often than not, on a brand new install, you don't have to touch tuners. But sometimes during commissioning, you find that things are short cycling. We can do tuners from here, but often it's so much simpler to do it through the Airoverse web portal. So often you're not doing that from here, but you can. So let's go ahead and add a floor. And we'll call this first one main. And I can add a zone. So if I want to add my first zone, I'll say this is zone 1. And you see how quick that is. And as I follow the green line here, if I go main zone 1, now I can pair a module to zone 1. Before we pair anything, what we have to do is we have to define what this central control unit is going to be used for. And that's what we consider the system config. So we're going to go into system config. And by default, this is going to be a gateway device. So if I had a bunch of standalone hyperstats or hyperstat splits or MyStats, you can leave this alone. You don't have to touch it. But if this is going to be used as a zoned air handling unit control, what we need to do is we need to select the type of control we want it to follow. So when I look at this, there's two primary types. There's VAV, variable air volume. Anything with VAV is going to use some iteration of ASHRAE Guideline 36 and the associated trim and response mechanism from all of the zones to control the AHU. If I choose DAB, dynamic airflow balancing, that's going to be your VVT retrofit, in which case you're creating a weighted average of all of the zones paired to this device, at least all of the zone dampers paired to this device, and then determining based on that weighted average how to control the AHU. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and choose, let's do a VAV staged RTU with VFD fan. And what we're going to see here is our options for what pieces of equipment our AHU is going to have. So I chose a staged unit with a VFD fan. So it restricted my options and gave me some additional options for how I treat my fan speed during different stages. So this isn't a traditional VAV system by any means, but it is one that comes up quite frequently. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit save. So don't forget to hit save. It'll really screw you up later if you don't hit save, because then you'll be confused about why you can't pair your VAV zone. Okay, so now my system config is set up. Now I can start pairing my zones. When I pair my zones, we're going to do that one by one here in just a minute. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. If I go to my smart node, you see that VAV with reheat is not grayed out, but dynamic airflow balancing is. It's grayed out because I can't pair DAB, I can't pair a VVT to a VAV system. The two logics are incompatible. So based on that system config, it will restrict what you can pair to this device thereafter. With that, that's a basic overview of what you're going to be getting into when it comes to pairing and the initial setup. We'll do a little bit more of an elaborate go through of this here once we get through some of the pairing.